Hello, everyone. Beautiful Monday, May 5th, and this is UnPontificated. My name is Vuyo, and hey, it's been a week. It's been a week since the last election. Many of us have been crying, wallowing in our sorrows, but we've had a week. Now it's over, so now we got to get back to it. So a lot has been going on. We all know Mark Carney won the election. It's a minority government. The seats have been going back and forth, 168, 169, 144 for the Conservatives, 143, up with the Bloc, down with the Bloc. Either way, Mark Carney is our Prime Minister, and now we got to hold him to account. So he had a press conference last week, which I found very, very interesting. I think most of you did as well, because it was a very, very Poilievre. It was like he was channeling Pierre, Poilievre in some of the policies, some of the things that he said he was going to do. So, but I found that very interesting. His wife has got a book out, which very interestingly was released before the election, and she was talking about herself being the first lady. And tomorrow we're going to have a Conservative caucus. Pierre Poilievre has been on the phones, just checking to see if people still want him to lead the party into the next election. Looking like most people that I've heard, at least on CBC and CTV and all those platforms, have been saying yes, they want Pierre to be leader, and he's going to run in a seat in Alberta. And also, Prime Minister Mark Carney is heading off to see Trump tomorrow. A lot of stuff going on. It's going to be an interesting time. So let's check out what I mean when I say Mark Carney is channeling Pierre Poilievre.
In this session of Parliament, we will fight to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Again, yes. In case you missed it, axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime.
That means bringing down costs for Canadians and helping them get ahead. So we will put more money in Canadians' pockets with a middle-class tax cut that will take effect by Canada Day, saving two-income families up to $825 a year. So we will put more money in Canadians' pockets with a middle-class tax cut that will take effect by Canada Day, saving two-income families up to $825 a year.
Axe the tax.
No, I understand the axe the tax was axe the carbon tax, but the fact that Mark Carney said he's going to lower our taxes to put more money in our pockets, I found that interesting. Since he's already, he's axed the consumer carbon tax, kind of. We're waiting to see what's going to happen, how he's going to get that money back. But that part, lower taxes, axe the tax, I played with that one a little bit.
To lower costs for first-time homebuyers, we will cut GST on new homes at or under $1 million, allowing them to save up to $50,000, and we will lower the GST on homes between $1 million and $1.5 million.
Now, again, that is a Poilievre plan to cut the GST on first-time home builds. I think actually, to Jack Mead's credit, I think he said that first, but anyway.
These tax measures will provide immediate relief, but they won't be sufficient to make housing affordable again. For that, we have to build.
Build the homes.
We will address failures in the housing market head-on, unleashing the power of public-private cooperation at a scale not seen in generations. We will slash development charges in half for all multi-unit housing. That's about $40,000 off the cost of a two-bedroom apartment in Toronto. And we will create an entirely new Canadian housing industry in modular and prefabricated housing using Canadian technology, Canadian skilled workers, and Canadian lumber. We will build houses faster, at lower costs, with a smaller environmental footprint in construction and greater efficiency once families move in. And to kickstart these efforts, we will create a new entity, Build Canada Homes, and provide $25 billion in financing to private developers.
Build the homes, Stop the crime.
We'll build a stronger Canadian armed forces to protect Canadians, defend our sovereignty, and support our allies. We'll strengthen our border security with 1,000 more CBSA officers, as well as scores of dog teams, drones, and scanners to fight the traffic of guns and drugs. We'll strengthen Canadian law enforcement by hiring 1,000 more RCMP officers and giving law enforcement more tools to fight crime.
Stop the crime.
We will toughen the criminal code and bail laws for those threatening the safety of Canadians, including making bail harder to get for those charged with stealing cars, with home invasion, human trafficking, and smuggling.
Stop the crime.
Day-to-day government spending, the government's operating budget, has been growing by an unsustainable 9% every year. We will bring that down to 2%, less than half the average nominal growth rate of the economy.
Fix the budget.
Not cut any transfers to provinces, territories, or individuals. Instead, we'll balance our operating budget over the next 3 years by cutting waste, capping the public service, ending duplicative programs, and deploying technology to boost public sector productivity.
Fix the budget.
There you have it. Great speech. But it was a Pierre Poilievre speech. Too bad he's not the one making it. And but you have to be very careful, guys, as conservatives, that we don't get duped. We don't fall aside thinking that, oh, this guy's doing our plan anyway, so let's elect him. Don't let him steal our base. Don't let him lull us into a sense of satisfaction because he's got it looks like he's got our back. No. Liberals are smart. By the way, I can actually listen to Mark Carney. I remember when Justin Trudeau was making his speeches, it was like, chalkboard. Just listen to him talk. At least Mark Carney sounds like a reasonable man. I can hear him talk, but still my spidey senses are on alert. On alert. Don't get duped. So anyway, we all heard the good news that there's going to be a by-election. Well, we don't know the date of the by-election. But another thing that Mark Carney did really well was he did say in that conference that if Pierre Poilievre gets a seat, if someone steps aside, and he will quickly call a by-election. He's not going to play games and all that. So Pierre Poilievre does have a seat. Someone saw this post on X from Pierre. So it is with humility and appreciation that I've accepted Damien Kurek's offer to resign his seat in Battle River Crowfoot, that I can work to earn the support of citizens there to serve them in Parliament. Damien's selfless act to step aside temporarily as a member of Parliament shows his commitment to change and restoring Canada's promise. I will work to earn the trust of the good people of Battle River Crowfoot, and I will continue to hold a Liberal minority government to account until the next federal election, when we will bring real change to all Canadians. So, hey, Damien Kurek, wow. And this guy actually has 6 months to go until he's eligible for his pension. So he's really made a selfless act here. And in the last election, he won over 80% of the vote went Conservative. Now, the Liberals actually also doubled their vote from last election. They doubled it to 5%. So this is a Conservative riding. It is a very safe riding. And now I heard somewhere that, I don't know if it's true, that the PPC, Maxime Bernier, is planning to run a candidate in this election. I wish Maxime Bernier would just go away. Sometimes, yes, some of the stuff that he talks about, I actually agree with. But this dividing the right, you cannot divide the right. All he's doing is he's got sour grapes because he wasn't elected as leader when he ran. So now he's pissed off. My understanding, he doesn't even live in Canada. He lives in Florida most of the time. So anyway, go away, Maxime. Let Pierre run. Can you imagine if it's, because it could be if the NDP decide that they're not going to have a put a candidate there. It could be Pierre, some liberal candidate, and a PPC candidate. And then if you divide the PPC and the Conservatives, divide that vote, the Liberal just comes up right up the middle. So the NDP is not, they can play those games, because we all know that Jagmeet did not call an election because he couldn't stomach the PCs. He couldn't stomach the Conservatives holding power when they had that 26% ahead, whether ahead by 26% in the polls. And he knew they would win, and he couldn't stomach that. So for him, it wasn't about what the people wanted. It was about what he wanted. I'm glad he's gone. Jagmeet can just go and he's got his pension now, so he's set. Okay, so Damien Kurek, good on you, brother. Good on you. And let's get Pierre back in there in Parliament to hold the Liberals to account. And I found this very interesting that we have a biography here of Diana Carney, from economist to First Lady of Canada. What does it take to stand beside a leader while carving out a legacy of your own? Now, Diana Carney is an environmentalist. She is into climate change, and I'm sure she has, I don't know what Mark Carney's policies were before he wrote his book, but certainly if you read his book, I have not read the book Values, but supposedly he believes that it's better to leave fossil fuels and all that in the ground. And look at the ratings out of this book. Clearly, people don't like this book. It's got a 1, 2-star, mostly 10 stars. This is 20 people. Should have been published on April 1, April Fool's Day. How did she know before the actual election? What a farce our political system was. I think that is the right date, April 3rd, April 10th. Anyway, it's a terrible book, supposedly. I don't know if I'll buy it. I'll probably will. Well, not buy it, but maybe wait for it to get to the library and read it, just because she is the wife of our Prime Minister, and I'll be interested to hear what she has to say about her man. I can make a comment on it. I might. We'll see. I'm definitely not buying it, though. I'm not giving her any of my cash. But Canada doesn't have a first lady, especially not from someone who thinks repeating elbows up is a sign of intelligence. Curious how she determined to be first lady of Canada before the election. Yeah, exactly. I was forced to give this 1 star. This is 0 stars. Wow. Paris are causing some havocs. I have another shift that's cutting down here.
Later, GM confirms this in a statement, saying this decision was made due to forecasted demand and the evolving trade environment. Safe to say that's another way of talking about the tariffs and their impact on the auto sector.
So yeah, this is clearly, this is obviously not good. I wish Trump would just wake up and, I know what he's doing. He's saying it's short-term pain for long-term gain, but it is affecting. Canada is affecting the auto industry for sure. By the way, you see here, meeting Trump tomorrow. New cabinet will be sworn in May 12th. Parliament to resume May 26th. Now, Pierre won't be there in this session of Parliament. They'll probably resume May 26th and run for a short period of time. By the way, did you hear? King Charles III is coming to read the throne speech. I know some people are like, who cares? Hey, I kind of like it. I actually have no problem with the monarchy. I have no problem with Canada's parliamentary system. It has produced a great country. All in all, Canada is one of the greatest countries in the world. And and it differentiates us from the US. I am not a proponent of being the 51st state. I'm not a proponent of wanting to be part of the US. I've seen some signs out there of people saying, especially the Alberta separatists saying, you know, either Alberta first or we'll be a 51st state. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I think I've digressed. We have Oshawa cutting a shift, certainly affecting people there. We also have, remember a couple of months ago, the plant in Ingersoll, the GM plant in Ingersoll that builds electric vans, delivery vans, is closed down there, and they'll be back in October. Now that one is not so much tariffs, but electric vehicles. We don't have the full infrastructure yet. It'll be too expensive to run, and so that was just a bad decision to start building those there when you know, thinking that people were ready to make the change and make the switch, that businesses are going to switch from fossil fuels to electric. So anyway, the auto industry is struggling right now. And Carney said he's heading over there. He's heading over there tomorrow. We'll see if he can make a dent, make a decision with Trump to not tariff the auto industry. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. GM is increasing bills in Indiana, and their plant in Indiana. So Trump's plan is working. His job numbers went up. The last job numbers that they had actually increased the job numbers. So a lot of the media, left-wing media in the States were, but so Trump's plans are moving back to the States, you know, so his plan is working. It is going to be short-term pain, a long-term gain. At least that's his plan. I found this interesting. When Albertans will vote to separate in a referendum, the Angus Reid poll suggests. I don't know why Albertans want. I mean, there's always separatists everywhere, I guess. A new Angus Reid poll shows that if a referendum were held tomorrow, 1 in 4 Albertans would vote to leave Canada. For Albertans like Diane Peake, it's not a far-fetched idea. She said the country is facing a high-stakes federal election after nearly a decade of Liberal rule. So this was written April 9th. So anyway, so since the election, we've had some spews. I like Danielle Smith. I think she's a firecracker.
Is worth fighting for. Yeah. That's what millions of Albertans demand, and they refuse to let anyone, particularly this government, attack our country. But extremists, some of the same people who blocked Coots, some of the same people who supported this Premier and her leadership, do not believe in Canada, and they want to tear this country down. Instead of leading Alberta, why does this government choose to advance the economically harmful separatist agenda?
The Honourable Premier. Well, Mr. Speaker, I've made it very clear that I and my caucus support Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada, and we will defend our constitutional jurisdiction, just as we did today, in announcing that we are going to challenge the net zero power regs in the court of law as a violation of our Constitution, but also as a safety issue, Mr. Speaker. We just saw what happened in Spain and Portugal when the power went out 3 days ago. That is the kind of thing that we want to avoid here. That is the kind of thing the federal government should not be interfering with. And I would invite the members opposite to actually stand with us in fighting the federal government to get our jurisdiction back.
Go Danielle. Yeah, no, I mean, the problem with why Alberta is all up in arms is that they've got an economy that's based on fossil fuels. It's based on gas. So, and this, I think it's Bill 69, talking about that Mark Carney said he would not repeal, right, is stopping people from drilling, it's stopping investment in the oil sands, it's stopping pipelines from being built. Now, Mark Carney said he wants to build pipelines. He's going to talk with the the provinces and the indigenous peoples. And we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. Because in his book Values, he believes that fossil fuels should stay in the ground. But Alberta needs to drill. Drill, baby, drill. So that's why Danielle is, up in arms, and why a lot of Albertans are like, hey, what about us? Why can't we do what we want within our province, our sovereignty? So we'll see, how things go. I don't obviously. Who wants Alberta to leave Canada? Like, really? I mean, I don't want Quebec to leave Canada either, even though the separatists there. But Alberta sovereignty within a united Canada, it's actually a nice statement. I have no problem with that. I mean, Quebec is recognized as a nation, as a sovereign nation within Canada. Why not Alberta? Let's do it. And then let them drill, baby, drill. What she said there about what Danielle Smith said there about the blackout in Portugal and Spain was very interesting. Atlantic search is on to figure out exactly caused Spain and Portugal to lose power on Monday, leaving millions of people without access to basic modern necessities. The answer will have serious ramifications for the two countries and for Europe as a whole. The EU has been pressing the Iberian Peninsula, which has long operated as an energy island within the bloc, to link up better to Europe's grids. This thing of linking, so that we have a one world of this, a one world global system, one world currency, one world link, electricity grid. You break the link and then everybody's got issues. It makes zero sense. Makes no sense. You should have it, and it's taking away people's sovereignty. We need to be sovereign nations doing what we want. Sovereign peoples, sovereign nations. I don't know. Anyway, it's got to put more countries at risk of experiencing spillover effects, for sure. I found this map on online. I found very interesting. It shows basically, I was looking here at Canada's, this is the carbon intensity, right? If you look here at Canada, you'll see that, say Alberta, for instance, right? It has carbon intensity 373. 26% of its electricity is generated by low carbon means, and 26% by renewables. Ontario is actually pretty good in terms of low carbon. It's mostly like nuclear, some wind and solar, and then 38% renewables, wind, solar kind of thing. If you look here at Nunavut, no carbon intensity, very high. They don't generate electricity using any low carbon and renewables. And if you look it up, it's mostly diesel. Nunavut actually imports diesel, so and also has its own diesel. So very, very carbon intense in Nunavut, as well as Alaska. It does have some 30%, but I was looking at some African countries. Lift this up, for instance, in Botswana, where I spent my preteen years. Wow. Move stuff out of my way. Right? Again, no low carbon, no renewables. Again, there's coal and some diesel. But supposedly they'll be getting some solar stuff going on soon. I found that very interesting. Mostly coal. Namibia is doing actually quite well, right next door. Anyway, I found this map kind of interesting. You can kind of see where a lot of countries are in terms of their renewable versus coal versus fossil fuels. There's always, countries in the West are trying to do stuff. In the meantime, you have, China, pretty high carbon intensity. They've got some low carbon, but very high. India, not very renewable as well. Oh, look at Nepal. My goodness, 100%, 100%. So some countries doing quite well, others no. You know, as far as I'm concerned, do what's best for your country. You know, don't put your country in debt, trying to and put your people in poverty, trying to meet these guidelines if you can't do it yet. You know, slowly. I think Canada's trying to do it way too fast, and it's affecting our economy. Anyway, so I found that interesting. I found this very interesting as well. Check this out. This is regarding Alberta separating from Canada and what the Indigenous peoples of Alberta are saying.
Been meeting all week on a number of issues. Among the discussion is supporting the chiefs in Alberta who are speaking out against Premier Daniel Smith, who will be tabling legislation supporting a referendum on the issue. AFN National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Niebenak says this isn't the first time a province tried to leave Canada. She referenced when Quebec tried to separate in the 1980s but couldn't, after the late Elijah Harper stood with an eagle feather and said no to the Meech Lake Accord.
If people aren't happy in this beautiful country that we're building together, then you're free to go and live wherever you want, but you can take the dirt that, you know, maybe your ancestors brought with them when they came over here from, you know, other places. That's the only piece of land that you're going to take, but you're not going to take any treaty land, any inherent land from any of our First Nations people across our beautiful country.
You can take the dirt that your people brought, but you can't take the dirt that you found here. Oh, very interesting. Good times, good times. I like it. Look, Canada is a vibrant democracy. We had an election. We think that it was a false election. Things do look a little suspicious, but what are you going to do? The election was held. We have Mark Carney as our prime minister. What I'm going to do, the Bible tells us to pray for our leaders. I'm going to pray for Mark Carney. We've been called to as Christians to pray for our leaders. So I'll pray for Mark Carney. I'll pray for the cabinet that he puts together, that they make good decisions for this country. I'll pray that evil forces that may come against this country may be destroyed, and so that we can continue to build this country back to what it used to be. Country, you know, a light on a hill, a country where everybody wanted to come to, investments, including investments. People wanted to invest here. So we'll see what happens. Looking forward to what Mark Carney, the meeting with Mark Carney and Donald Trump, what that's going to bring. We have the caucus, the Conservative caucus meeting tomorrow, and it looks like Pierre Poilievre is going to be staying on. At least that's what it looks like. We'll see. I mean, he's going to have a seat to run in. He's going to have a constituency to run in shortly. And I think he'll be back at the next session of Parliament in September. But we'll see. All right, guys. Well, that's what we got going on right now. Please like and subscribe and share if you appreciate the content. And I will see you guys next time. Ciao.